We're live. So what's up, Rocky?
Not much, brother. How you doing tonight?
So this is your first live show.
Yeah, I think I actually, yeah, this is my first actual live. I've done one on audio. This is the first time I'm seeing myself, I think, live here in
Okay,
person.
okay. Cool. So let's just wait a few minutes. We're gonna have a bunch of people come on. I'm gonna have another screen where I actually just kind of see and I can reply to people on that screen.
Okay.
So typically, it takes like a minute or two. But how's your day so far?
Today's actually been a good day, man. Got a lot of work done this morning. I'm flying out tomorrow back to Alabama to see my parents.
Okay, nice,
So,
nice,
yeah,
nice.
excited about that.
Cool, cool. You see your parents often?
Yeah, quite. I don't really. That's not my favorite place in the world to go back to
Yeah,
exactly,
yeah,
but my parents are there, Alabama. So I try to go back for like Mother's Day, birthdays, stuff like
yeah.
that. So
Cool. So you grew up in New York?
I kind of grew up, I like to say, like all over the world, basically.
Yeah, yeah.
I got stuck in a few places here and there, but I was
Okay.
born in New York in the Bronx. Yes,
In the Bronx. Okay. How old are you, if you don't mind me asking?
34.
35. Okay, so you're not. I'm 29. So
Okay, cool.
I went to school in the Bronx. So it's changed a lot. I mean, the Bronx has changed a lot, but it also hasn't in some ways. Like the Bronx is like in New York City, the Bronx, like when you're in the Bronx.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like
You
in
know
the
it's gonna
Bronx,
be
it's just
like.
different. It's just different, but it's cool. I have some friends that live up there and all that. So we have Kelsey over here. We have a couple of people. So I mean, sort of. What's up, Teresa? Nice to see you. So let's sort of get started. I mean, you've had a very crazy life all over the place, man. I mean, crazy is an under. How do you describe your life?
Yeah, honestly, the easiest word to say fast is crazy. So,
Yeah, yeah, easiest way to say fast. Cool. So, how did you get into hair?
so actually, I got into hair, and I was actually scared to share this for so long. My parents are Indian, so they're like, "Don't say that, you're gonna lose business." But
Yeah, yeah,
while I was in an Alabama state prison for some charges and some crimes I committed, I came up with a bunch of business plans,
yeah.
and hair was one of them. We used to use a cell phone that was snuck into the prison and lay underneath the bunk, underneath like all underneath the bunk bed where like roaches and spiders are, hide ourselves with a blanket and have a friend watch out and call like my friend's sister and ask them about costing and pricing and marketing and what the market wants and needs and things like that, and came up with a one-page business plan while I was there on it. So that's how it
Wow.
started.
So that's how it started. So why did you guys decide on hair? So this is how you got the business plan and everything. So like, how does it even work? Like, you're in prison, right?
Yeah.
And you got the cell phones. That's like a big thing. Cause I mean, I see some videos, man. I see these guys on Instagram. Like, these guys have like Domino's pizzas and wing. I saw one guy. He's like, "Yo, look at it. He had a bunch of cup noodles and Twizzlers, and it's
Gucci
just crazy."
shoes, iPhones, like
Yeah, yeah,
everything.
yeah. So yeah, you got the cell phone. Now, what like? Obviously, that was probably was that the first one you came up with, or that
It
was
was
like
it
what
was
made
like
it
one
stick
of
out
the
to you? What
so
made
it
it
was
stick out
one
to
it
you?
was one of a number. Like I did with we were like restaurant ideas, like talent ideas, club ideas, this and that. And not one in particular actually stuck out. But after I got out, I kind of got back in the lifestyle of the same kind of stuff for a bit,
Yeah,
up until the point in time when I was like, you know what, I'm going to leave the country. I'm gonna get away from everything I know, and see what else is out there for myself. And that happened to be me going to India. And when I
yeah.
was in India is kind of when I was like, oh, like, and I still to this day have that one page business plan with me. And when I was there, I was kind of like, what am I going to do? Should I open a liquor store in India? Should I open a restaurant in India? What do I want to do? And the hair thing came back to me, and I was like, oh, you know what? Let me see what I can do. So I started doing a little exploring in India about the business, about the factories and manufacturers and vendors. And I made one Facebook post, and all my homegirls from high school was just like, "What, Rock? You got hair? Bring it through! Bring it through! Bring it through!" So I was like, "All right, cool. Let me try this out." And that day, I went all in, and just haven't looked back since.
Wow. Did you so from that time, right? Because it's always different when you idealize an idea to how it actually is. Like, what you think was gonna happen? Like, you had this idea, you went all in. Like, what would you think was gonna happen in the future? Like, what was your idea? Like, I'm gonna become like this hair maiden, or are you just like, look, I just got to do this and see what happens?
Not yeah, I mean, bro, I've done so many different things, like, and just kind of throwing stuff at the wall and see what sticks. To like, in the beginning, I was just like, oh, this is another thing. Let's see how it goes. Let me see what's gonna happen with it. And honestly, I had no true vision of like the very end of it, or and right now where I'm at right now in the business, honestly, like, people say you have to imagine the goal to get there. I had no idea I would get to this point this far with it. I just didn't stop working on it. So in the beginning, I was just like, the life situations and circumstances where I was, I needed to do something, and I'm not the type to work 9 to 5, and I'm also not the I don't have the background ability to get most 9 to 5s anymore either with the felony and stuff. So yeah, I just ran with it, man. I gave it a shot, tried it, and it was fun because I grew up in the South, like when I was a young age, Mississippi, Alabama, Bronx, New York. Almost all my friends were black in the black community. I knew about girls wearing hair. I vibe very well with people wearing hair, people that work in this industry, and I was like, you know what, this is fun. I like it's like I'm talking to my friends, you know what I mean, and I'm actually able to do business with them now, with a legal product for once, you know what I mean.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
that was kind of fun, and I just kept
So
going with it.
so what kept you? Because I know a lot of people who have a felony, it's so easy to go back to the lifestyle because a lot of people in there, you have limited opportunity. There are certain things you can't do. What do you think like kept you out? Like what because you I see so many people struggle with that.
Man, honestly, the only answer I have for that is by the grace of God, a higher energy, a greater power, all spirituality. You know what I mean? Because I almost went back the year after I got out. I almost went back at least 3 times. I mean, something random happened where a guy said I pulled a gun on him in the middle of our airport boulevard in Mobile, Alabama, in daylight. I went to jail for 2 or 3 weeks, waiting on the outcome of that. Got out for it. Failed a couple more piss tests. Almost went back to prison for that. And I had 7 years hanging over my head, so I would have been, not in a good situation if I had to go back. And eventually, like the turning point came, I believe, November 3rd, 2011, when my dad, who always butted heads with me, came to me one day and said, "Rob, you're not living at home. You're not asking us for money anymore. Why don't you leave the country?" And that's when I was telling you earlier. I decided to leave the country, and India was one of my options. And I let go of all the people, the background, the identity I created for myself, my crew, my girlfriend, everything. Just kind of let it go and went to India. And with the mindset of, I don't know what I'm gonna do, but I'm not going back to that. I want to do something different. I'm tired of looking over my shoulder. I'm tired of being high. I'm tired of being hungover. I'm tired of waking up to party, going to sleep because I'm crashing. I was tired of it. You know what I mean? Like, and I'm not the type of person you can like scare, beat, or lock up and me change my ways. So I wasn't facing any kind of trouble at this point. I had finished my probation. Everything was all done and set. And I was just like, I'm back in the lifestyle almost again. And it's, in the beginning, I liked the attention. I was kind of addicted to the lifestyle. And I started like losing the interest in that. And something literally, because I don't remember making the decision on my own, something literally outside energy kind of came in. I was like, Rock, it's time to make a move. It's time to get out of here. It's time to do something different. And I didn't even know I could do anything. I'm a felon. I was, a certain age at that point, thinking I'm old already because of what I've been through. And I had a lot of self-limiting beliefs and doubts and negative mindsets. And I just kind of challenged them and faced those fears and left. And, it took many years for me to get over all of that, what I just said. But the first step was to challenge them, get that initial like uncomfortableness out of the way and go to India and start over.
How long did you stay in India?
I was only there for like maybe 9 months that time. I actually rented a condo, got a car when I was out there, got a scooter, started traveling around and learning about the business. I had been to India a couple of times before that. My dad sent me there when I was 11 as a kid to like go to school because I was acting up a little too much at that age.
They
So
actually sent you back because that's a threat. Like my parents and I know all the brown parents were like, "Yo, we're gonna send you back." So they actually sent you back. Like I know one of my friends, he got sent back, and he wasn't
yeah,
even a bad student. Like I don't know, he probably got like an A- on a report card, and they sent him back or something. So they actually sent you back.
they sent me back. They sent, and my dad. I remember the day my dad left me. I was like, please, please don't leave me in this hot, nasty ass room all by myself. Like, I promise I'll be good. I won't talk back anymore. I'll stay inside. He was like, nope, peace. And he just flew away the next day, and I was there. I had an experience there though. Man, I was that little kid that like the family was supposed to watch over me. I would sneak out, take a bus or a train, go to Chennai, and play tennis tournaments, and just be all over the place. Like,
Yeah, yeah. No, so I mean, what do you think happened in those 9 months? So when you stayed there 9 months, like when did you like was it in the beginning where you made a lot of changes in yourself or towards the end or just like a gradual change?
it was definitely gradual. Like, I mean, as an adult, when I went there for this time, the first month was I was living on a farm in Punjab, in Mohali in particular, and I was just living with a friend of mine there and like working on his parents' farm, living a clean lifestyle, getting away from the alcohol, the drugs I was on, basically detoxing in a certain sense. Then within a month, I got a phone call from some cousins that were in Delhi for a wedding, and I went out there and ended up meeting my now ex-wife. And that's kind of like where a lot of more changes kind of started in me. Being like in that kind of relationship and growing through that and building with her, kind of put a different mindset in my mind. I was like, you know what, I want to be with someone that understands me, my culture, and I want to learn, I want to grow, I want to do more, and I want to do better. And I mean, we're still friends to this day, and it was obviously our relationships, have ups and downs, and we ended quite painfully. But I mean, now we've kind of overcame that. We're amicable with each other. But I'm very grateful of the experience that I had with her and the growth I was able to get through with her as well. And it was a gradual process. Like I said, I was still when we got back into America after we know each other like 3 or 4 months. And we got married. I was still kind of had a lot of bad habits. It's probably contributed to not the best relationship. Um, but it was still a gradual change. This is talking 5 years ago now, 6 years ago, and I mean it took the last 5 years too, while I was developing my business and working teaching tennis, to get to the point where I am now. So I don't think that many of the changes we make as adults happen like snap of the fingers overnight. We can change a mindset and a shift like that, but especially people like my background from addiction to prison to girls to partying to disrespect for authority and things like that. Um, and being so set in that identity of knowing I'm a playboy, I'm a dope boy, I'm a this, I'm a that society puts on us and that we end up accepting and understanding as ourselves. It takes a lot to pull out of that lifestyle. For me, it was letting go of the music, the TV, the friends, the people, the girls, obviously the drugs and the bad things in my body and the distractions. I quit eating meat, stopped smoking weed, all kind of things, that have just kind of slowly had me elevating the last 5 years.
Yeah, I mean, if anybody in the audience has any questions, feel free to answer any questions. Nice to see you, Karen, Sid, Kelsey, Charlie, Nancy. I really appreciate each and every one of you. Now, do you think, like, if you looking back, like, was there something you could have done to sort of avoid the things you went through, or it was just tough, you know?
Yeah, man, that's a really good question, and the big thing for me is like, and it's such a catch-22 because I don't want anybody to go through the things I went through, especially as a child. A lot of those places. However, for me in particular and personally, I really strongly feel like I had to kind of go through everything I did, from like almost getting killed to the kidnapping to the physical, sexual, anything it was. I don't think I would be in a mindset I am now, successfully business wise, and still with an open heart, wanting to help people, just be out there as much as possible. If I didn't go through those things, so for me, I truly do believe that it all happens for a reason, and most of the time, it's how we look at it and how we decide to shape those reasons in our own mind that we get to find something powerful and transcend, whatever the actual situation is into something bigger.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's very just sort of interesting to kind of see, like, because you went through so much, and it's like now how like your past, right? Because the past tends to bother a lot of people. How like what's your relationship with the past? Like you've obviously went through a lot, and how do you sort of look at it? Like, is it still something you struggle with? You sort of accept it? Like and what's your process for sort of dealing with it?
So, I mean, as an adult, I went through so many things that almost as a kid, I kind of covered up a lot of that stuff. And the last 6 months is when I've actually gone back and done a lot of that healing from childhood, and a lot of it I forgot. So, I got my father to send me a lot of journals that I used to write when I was younger, and I'm kind of writing my own book right now from those days as an adult. And man, the last 6 months to a year has been a process of literally sitting alone in what used to be my ex's and I's, house, and literally crying and literally almost hallucinating, seeing things and hearing her voices and like having flashbacks because I was making myself, I didn't realize it until more recently, relive this stuff and understand why I had so many preset beliefs and ideas about not only myself but about society in general. And a lot of that stemmed from what I was going through as a child. That I kind of, as an adult, I went through so much more that I almost forgot about it. And I was like faced with those situations, so I kind of had to deal with, the prison, the getting half my face chopped off, getting my arm chopped off, that kind of stuff, head on. And if I didn't, I don't know if I make it through those times. And now that the prison and all that near death stuff is kind of was behind me, it's like I'm still hurting. I'm still waking up having nightmares and dreams where I'm screaming and crying and I don't know what's going on. Um, so basically, yeah, man, the process has been one that is crazy, but it's also beautiful because I started listening to so many people online from Ralph Smart, Robin Sharma, Tony Robbins, Wayne Dyer, and just started putting this stuff in my brain until finally it started to click. And I've kind of even started to go back and understand, like, as a kid, like, some of the stuff that happened. Obviously, I used to blame myself. I used to say, I must be a bad kid. I am a bad kid, and this is who I'm going to be. And I mean, we're never. I don't believe we are one circumstance or one situation. We're always a bigger part of the picture that when we are. And I'm still dealing with it. I still am writing the book. I'm still occasionally have dreams where I wake up screaming. I still, if I get too deep in thought about this, can get kind of in a negative mindset and kind of I kind of withdraw a little bit from the world and get kind of sad. But the most important thing is nowadays I understand that there's a small process that I can implement to catch that and see it and recharge my energy and start back again. And a couple of those small things are just meditating, reading, writing, traveling for me is a huge thing. Just moving my body, physical exertion, and I kind of use a multitude of all that stuff put together to try to just to help heal myself. And something that's been huge for me the last couple of weeks, I think 3 or 4 weeks now that I've been doing like these small podcasts and talks, is I was so scared to talk about this stuff because of my parents, because of my business, just out of all kind of fears, and because it's honestly not the easiest stuff to talk about, especially the stuff when you're a kid, especially the physical stuff, the sexual stuff. Like it's not how you say fun to talk about, but it's healing. It's cathartic. Like it helps me understand myself and the bottom of my heart, what I want to do always is try to help others and motivate others and inspire others. That really fulfills me beyond any kind of business or beyond anything else I can do. Um, and that's helped me so much just being able to come on board with you and talk. And like I said before, like in hopes that someone can take a piece of this and run with it and use it as motivation and inspiration.
Yeah, no, just want to say hi. So we have CC from Myanmar. We have Aruna and Sama from both India. So, it's I have a decent amount of connections from India who are very
Of course.
supportive. So it's cool to see. So how long did it take so you mentioned that you taught tennis and you did the hair business. So like how did you get into tennis? And I guess that was to make sure you had some income while sort of growing that business.
Exactly. I played tennis since I was 3 years old, and I was very competitive as a younger age, and then tournaments and all that. And then as I got older, I used it just to make money on the side. And yeah, as Carmen said, healing is definitely a constant process. I learned
Yeah.
that. I always thought like, oh, I'm gonna be healed, and like I don't think you just get healed. You have to kind of keep going through the healing. It definitely and yeah, releasing the demons, as Kelsey said as well. Very true. Very true.
Yeah,
For me,
no.
the demons were distractions. All
So
my
how'd you get into tennis? You just used to play it?
When I was 3 years old, my mom in Ocean Springs, Mississippi, took me to a court with a plastic racket and plastic balls because she was bored also sitting inside that house. My dad worked all day,
Yeah, yeah.
and that was my first introduction to tennis. And I fell in love at 3 years old. And I played in USTA juniors. I was actually ranked top 500 in the world for a while. I was in juniors, ranked top 10 in the South in Mississippi and Alabama. I was very competitive in tennis. That's my sport. I lived, ate, and breathed tennis. I used to be the kid that would have glasses, braces, tennis goggles, and a tennis shirt every single day at school and get made fun of, but
Do
still
you
keep.
still play?
Yeah, I still play. I tore my ACL, which is a story of actually how I dove further into business. I tore my ACL, so I had to kind of slow down. But right now, I wear a brace and still go out here to Santa Monica on the beach and play as much as I can.
If you don't mind sharing, how much does someone who teaches tennis sort of make? Like can make?
So, yeah, good question. When I was in the South, I was somewhere around 25 to 30 an hour. As I got to Connecticut slash New York, I was getting closer to 40 to 50 an hour plus tips.
Yeah, yeah.
And I was keeping my hours less because I know I needed to do some work on the business as well. But I mean, I love doing it. So they asked me to stay for another 3 lessons. I'm like, cool, I'll stay. I mean, I love doing it.
Yeah,
So
yeah. No, I mean, I do know I knew someone who played college tennis and he used to teach at 150 an hour. So I know that
yeah,
like it can definitely range depending on your experience. But yeah, no, 40 like 50 hours definitely nothing to sneeze at.
yeah. I mean, and that was when I had no certifications. I had a buddy that came from India who my dad actually helped get here, and he started out working at a gas station. He's like a great level player. He I think ended up pulling in over like almost close to 100K a year. Starting at the same as me, 25, 30 an hour, to working at a huge club out there.
Yeah. No, I mean that's cool. So that sort of so how many hours a week would you sort of teach tennis? Like what was the balance because I know like while building a business, you're like, hey, I need money, but I also need time what sort of balance did you sort of do to make sure that you had a good balance?
This is one of those things. Once again, everything happens for a reason because I really wasn't balancing it well. I was excited to work and I was excited to have a wife at that time, and I was like, I want to work my ass off for my family and I want to build it. So I would take as many hours they give me. So I average about 30 to 40 hours a week,
For
and if they asked me
tennis.
to do on tennis, if they asked me to do more, I would do more, and then I would just get home at night and do what I could on the laptop and on the phones and try to build and build and build until I tore my ACL. And then I was like, in my mind, I was like, oh, wait a minute. I guess tennis and moving forward with my career in tennis really isn't that viable of an option. It takes just one little injury and I can't make money anymore. So that's kind of where I started really diving in, and I had time to as well. I was just like, you know what, I got to do this now. And I was paying a guy to do my website, and he kept kind of jerking me around. And I was like, you know what, I'm about to learn this myself. So I started learning how to develop on WordPress on my own while I was hurt, and kind of just went from there and started learning it all on my own.
Dang. So now, how many hours a week would you? So while you're working, you're getting your 30, 40 hours. Sometimes you pick up more shifts. How many hours a week did you sort of put in the business?
If I wasn't teaching tennis, I was doing business. And my business, like the way I was doing it, is constant. I work from my phone, I work from my laptop. We can be out in dinner, which most people I'm with in relationships hate. But just answering messages, answering calls, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, everything. Now I kind of have a team developed to where I can do less of it, but I love my business and I love what I
Yeah,
can do with it, and it's fun for me. So like, I tell my team to like, don't ever think I'm disconnected. Like I might take a couple of days to go sit on the beach and chill and relax, but I'm still, even while I'm on that beach, I'm probably still doing a little bit of business. And I went to Cancun a month or two ago, and I actually did a meeting out there with a client and still answered some emails as well. So yeah, so especially when I was teaching tennis, it was like literally whenever I wasn't teaching, I was working on the
yeah.
business.
So now, what were you working on in the early phases of the business?
Yeah, it's a great question because I didn't really know what to work on. I implemented this kind of thing where I was like, I have 10 browser pages open on my website. Now I have 30. And I would just make sure that, because I think it was Robin Sharma, or it might have been Tim Ferriss. I read one of their books that it was like, do something on this part of the business every single day for 10 minutes a day at least. And so I just started working on everything from the site to the verbiage to working on numbers for the wholesale end, to touching base every night with suppliers in India, um, to building social media. Building a business is huge. There's so many moving parts and factors, so many things you have to do that if you get too caught up in trying to make one thing perfect and spend too much time on it, things slow down and you can't do as much of it. So in my experience, what I learned was just start working on small parts of it every single day and make that a habit. And I did that. And that's still one of the big habits I have nowadays. I'm so busy, I'm doing so much that I don't get to go to my 30 tabs every single day. But still, when I open my
It's
laptop,
usually 30 tabs.
I think now there might be more than that. Like
Okay, okay,
I
okay.
deal with everything from accounting to marketing to the
Yeah, yeah,
design,
yeah.
everything. So,
And you still hold yourself to the 10 minutes?
well, I mean, I think I do more than 10 minutes nowadays. Honestly, like
Okay. But
I
you
was,
get to all your tabs.
I mean, every single day, not every single tab now. And now, like, so I used to do AdWords myself, right?
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
took, I took a class on AdWords for 6 months and learned how to do it. And that was a constant every day, like making sure the negatives were good, making sure
Yeah,
the
yeah.
stuff was good, checking the metrics and analytics. Now I have a team that I pay monthly to do that for me. So I kind of took a tab off my checklist, basically. So like I've kind of like now that I've made some money and kind of, I'm really big on learning how to do something before I start paying someone else to do it.
No, I think
So
that's very
yeah,
important because I know for something like AdWords, you can get someone saying, "Hey, I can do XYZ," and you don't know anything. Whereas you don't have to be the best at it, but if you're competent in it, you know when, hey, all right, this guy, this guy or girl knows what they're talking about. Versus they're just telling you, "Yeah, I'm gonna give you XYZ." So
exactly.
who's your idea? So who are your customers? So these are people who are buying hair extensions or what?
Yeah, man, and this is another thing I'm blessed to have because this is what I wanted when I thought about business was my customers, my clients, my partners are literally all over the world, and they range from men to women to upper class to lower class to every race to every sex to every identity of every sex possible. Resellers, regular consumer clients, salons, distributors, everybody. Like I told you before, I went to Mexico and Googled hair extensions, and I was in Cancun and got to do a meeting there with a client who I
Wow.
work with now. I went to Bali in February and found a supplier for a specialized version of hair that we make, specifically for like Caucasian and Spanish women. So it's a beautiful industry, man. Which I didn't know in the beginning. I just kind of ran with it, and that's the reason why I say again, like I'm kind of like blessed and grateful that some bigger energy pulled me into this and allowed me to stick with it this long and really find the magic in it.
Wow. And what do you really like outside like because it is something like very uncommon. Like what are some other aspects of like the business you like?
I love. First of all, I love the people, the community. Like that somehow, I don't know if I attract it or what it is, but I feel like we're all very aligned, and everyone I work with. everyone I do business with. A lot of them have been through a lot of the similar things I have in my past. A lot of them come from just troubled backgrounds as well, and are entrepreneurs. It's a very entrepreneurial industry, and I love the fact that the way I do it, not many, not I don't know anybody else that does it like me. Like I keep things very transparent. I give myself 24/7 to all my clients, all my people, and I'm connected to it. I'm very personalized in the brand. So yeah, that and then helping other people grow their businesses. Helping, I love the girl that comes to me that is excited to talk, excited to move forward, that wants to build a brand, that has all these ideas, that throws them all out there. It's all over the place at first, but is learning how to get it together and kind of streamline it. And I'm able to help with that, and I'm able to supply her and be her kind of backbone in growing her business. I love that part of it.
What would you say is your like biggest strength when it comes to like business? Like, or this is your favorite part. Let's say what you're best at and what's your favorite, and it could be the same.
Yeah, I think what I'm best at, what I'm favorite at is kind of aligned. I love community, man. I love community. I love sharing myself with people, and that's obviously when I started my business, I wanted to have some kind of community of people that needed me, that I bounced ideas that I bounced back and forth with as well, and both those things kind of coincided very nicely. I'm very good at communication. I'm very good at organization. I'm very good at logistics, and I'm very good at answering my phone and being there for people, especially in my business. And that's honestly one of my favorite parts about it. Miranda, my chief of staff, wants to do more phone calls and this and that. I'm like, hey, slow down. Like you can do some of them, but I like doing these calls also. I like doing the messages also. I like staying connected, especially to my clients that have been around for a long time. They know me very personally. They know my story now. They know my history. They know the funny side of me, the sad side of me, what I've been through, and I stay very connected to them. Via text message when the riots happened downtown. Many of them text me, "Hey, Rock, are you okay? We know you're downtown." When the fires happen, they're sending messages like, "Hey, Rock, we know you're in LA. You good over there? Is everything okay?" And that warms my heart because it's like most people think about business as like, oh, it's business, be all proper, blah blah. But there's a huge humanity side, aspect of it, and I give that side to myself to it, and it's so nice to have that reciprocated back by partners and clients that I work with.
Wow, no, that's interesting. What would you say that you don't like doing about business? Because right, we can't like everything.
Yeah. So every once in a while, things get a little overwhelming. When it gets too overwhelming and I have too much coming in, that's not my favorite because I'm not the type to like back down and slow down. I'm gonna just keep going, 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 and then I notice that it kind of drains my energy a little bit. So I have to learn that balance. And I don't like the retail side as much. I don't like. I'm not a woman, obviously. I'm not like into
Yeah.
fashion as much and hair and beauty as much. So like holding someone's hand, like making them look beautiful, like while we pick hair textures and colors. That's not my
Yeah.
favorite part. And now finally, I have a team to help me out with that. Of a couple great girls that have been with me for a while, and they know the product, they know the hair, and they love beauty, creativity, design, makeup, and stuff like that. Um, so yeah, that because there came a point in time when I was like, man, I don't know how long I'm gonna do to help someone, decide which length of hair they need and what makes them look better. Like I don't, I don't know
Yeah.
even. I don't really know how to answer the question.
So
So
how'd you solve that? Like in the beginning, it was like by yourself, or you had someone sort of helping you with that side.
I mean, my ex-wife was there in the beginning, and she's like a woman, but she didn't really like that side of it as much either. So it was kind of just I had to kind of force myself a little bit, and to just look at Cardi B, look at the Instagram, look at some new styles, and see like, hey, this might look good on you, or hey, Cardi has the pink, 30 inches right now, and it's wavy, but you might not need to go 30, you might need to go 24, because it's halfway down your back. I still know the lingo, I still know what it is. I just am not. I'm not that person that has that eye to be like, ooh, you're gonna look good in this kind of style and that kind of style. That's not. That's something that I work with, stylists and artists and people that are really trained in their craft, or women like that's on my team that they really love this stuff. They really have a passion for it. Um, so that's how I've kind of.
Where do you want? So you've obviously come a long way. Where do you want to sort of take this business?
So Hairman India is going to continue to grow, and I've learned that now. Pretty much regardless of what I've worked so hard. Like I was keeping my show open from 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. 7 days a week. I answer my phone 24/7. That I put the work in for this to scale and grow. I want this to continue to scale and grow with my chief of staff, my people I work with. I want to hire sales reps, continue to capture larger parts of the market, and we're working on nonprofits for people with cancer problems and giving them hair. I really, really want to help women getting out of prison that don't know what to do. that want to start a business and that are aligned with something in the beauty industry.
No, so we have Sama asked, what do you think? How long do you need to experiment with that thing? And you give your answer, and I'll give my whether it's a career or beauty extension. Like, how long do you have to try a new look? What's your
Yeah,
opinion on that?
that's a great question, and I definitely think that there is some amount of time that you have to put in. Everyone kind of has their own timelines, depending on what you're doing at that time. For me, like in the beginning, like I told you, I was teaching tennis, I was doing this, and I was doing that. So my timeline, had to have been longer. Um, I think that in a business sense, you need to stick with something at the very least 3 to 5 years. To understand what's going on in it. It took me that long, to be honest, to understand really, really, really how to run this business and how to continue to grow it. But you also have to be very, as an entrepreneur, very adaptable to the change and very flexible as far as if you see things not working, you very change it. And that being said, as an entrepreneur, you better have that mindset of a failure and a mistake doesn't mean you are done. It means that you find a different shift, a different direction to move in, and you keep moving forward as much as you can. Um, because it's tough, man. It's tough. You have to have a tough, strong will. And what I've learned is most entrepreneurs have been through a couple of things in their life and they put that out there in their business and they know they have that tough heart, strong heart, and that good mentality to go through it. But tell me what you think, man, because I thought it was a
No,
really good
I mean,
question.
I like that 3 to 5 years only because like I've been in my business 6 years, and it's like all like I've made a lot of progress the first 3 4 years. I probably made an insane amount of progress the fifth year, and even more progress. It's like, but the thing is, you need the years 1 to 3 where you don't make as much progress, where you can't, where I was working a full time job and I couldn't invest as much time in the business, but it allowed me to get to a point where now it's like I'm more comfortable. I understand. I was like, hey, here's how I'm gonna make my money. I also think that a lot of people think that your only option is to stick with it or quit. You can always pivot. You can always change. I'm pretty sure like you throughout your business model has changed. Probably how you went about things have changed, and you're still with it. And the beauty is, it's like no matter what, the knowledge is like you can apply it to a different business. You can kind of see other opportunities. So no matter what, but you definitely have to stick with that. I see like some people they expect the results in 1 month, and I started a second business, and it ties into my first business, but we I think we started in March and now it's like what is it like 6 months and now it's making very good money. But there were like 3 months where it didn't make any money and it was just all about the future. And now if you look at the deal size I'm closing, like we would have been like, whoa, we sold something for $15. Now we're selling something for 15K. And it's like, whoa, like it's such a different, but it's my previous business experience that sort of helped me with that. Right? It's sort of all that experience. So it's not just a regular 3 months, 6 months to get it to where it is. It is that 3, 4, 5 years of all the things I've done before that got me to that point. So it's like main thing is you got to stick with it because no matter what, you will always get some benefit.
Definitely, definitely. I agree 100%.
Yeah. So someone asked, Rocky, question. One thing to you: you believe now, but you never believed in the past. So what? Yeah, what belief has changed? And that was Sama who asked that. Thank you for the great question, Sama. I
Yeah,
really appreciate it.
awesome question, man. Yeah, the biggest thing was, like I said, in the past, I had a lot of self-limiting beliefs, man. Like, I didn't believe I was good enough. I used to have this thing where I always thought I was overweight, where I always thought I was going to be, destined to be a bad kid and a bad boy. And what's changed is literally, and it sounds so simple, and I was talking about this earlier today. It's just a mindset shift, and I learned after going through some trials and tribulations that I can actually do this, that I can actually get past what my identity was, and I showed myself that, time and time again, that every time I got in trouble, I was in the hole, I was on the ground, I got kicked, I was sitting in prison. That 6 months to a year later, my life was better. Things have changed. No matter how negative I thought it was going to be, it did get better. So why not start believing that? Why not actually believe and get into it? And now I truly believe all in my heart that the way you believe in things, the way you think about things, you can actually energetically will that to you. And I've seen that happen as well now. So now that I had the taste of that, and I'm kind of like, I guess I do have an addictive personality. Once I get the taste of that and knowing that, like I'm not letting go of that. I'm going to keep that coming in, keep that coming in. But yeah, it's actually a really introspective question. I'm actually going to think about that even more later on. I really appreciate that question. I think Siam, that was his name.
Sama,
Sama,
Samah. So
Sama.
what are some misconceptions that people have about just prison in general and felons in general? Because there's so many misconceptions, man. There's you know,
Yeah, it's man. Honestly, when I was there, I thought I observe very well, and I kind of take a lot in. When I was in prison, first of all, I had no problems. It was prison was like after I went through what I went through as a kid in the boot camps, like it's kind of a cakewalk for me. It was pretty. It sucked. You're in a hot dorm with a lot of people, and there's all kind of crazy stuff and stabbings and rape going on. But I was already kind of institutionalized at that point to know what it was. But what I noticed is that 90% of the people there were great souls and good individuals that have made mistakes and that have continued to make those mistakes because they don't see any other alternative. And but definitely 10% of the people you look at and like shake their head like, you might need to be here, buddy. You might need to spend a little bit of time here. But like I said, that's a very small percentage, and that's a huge misconception right there about prison. And then the way we it depends on what culture and community you're in. Where I come from, prison was glamorized almost. Like you get street credit doing what I did back in the day, just by being in prison. That's stupid in my opinion. I don't like to call anybody stupid, but it's
Yeah, it's
horrible.
harmful. It's harmful to a lot of people because I have a friend with a felony and it's like very talented, but he can't get a regular job and it's sort of held him back. Because he would have got he has skills where he would have got paid 200, 300, 400, half a million, right? He has those unique skills, but when it comes to hey, background check or and you try to be nice and you try to disclose it and it just works against you. They're just like, hey, the conversation just ends.
And that's sad for the employers because they're missing out on an amazing array of people that are in a position that they would work their butts off to prove society wrong, to get their good name, quote unquote, back, and put everything down for them. I would love to hire, and I've worked with a lot of friends that are felons and tried to hire them and work with them as well. Like I told you before, I want to work with women going through prison. In fact, I was talking to a lady, a client named well, I can't say her name, but from Atlanta, who had went to prison for burglary or something like that, and we connected so deeply. And like she hits me up every single day. She's like, I love that we're connected on this, and she has a whole team and a group she made to talk about this stuff, to talk about hair, and to continue forward. And just the people that have been through those things, the passion, the dedication, and the loyalty they can put into a job or a business, in my opinion, doesn't even match what the straight A student that went to college and never had experiences in life and had a 4.0 and ticks all the check boxes, for a good employee would be. So that's a big misconception on the part of employers. They should definitely be open to working with people that have backgrounds that are looking to actually change them. They're looking to do something more and better because those are some of the toughest working and best hearted people I've met. And as a prisoner, we a felon, like we get looked on by society as pretty much scum. Like when I moved to LA, I didn't. My business wasn't doing good. I needed to get a job at Uber, Lyft, Postmates, Grubhub, anywhere. I couldn't get a job anywhere. When I was back home, I applied at Burger King because I needed something, and they didn't even give me an interview. And that was when I was like, you know what? No more, no mas. I'm not asking anybody else for a job anymore. When I got to LA, I figured it'd be like Uber. I'm like, of course they're gonna hire me. I'm just gonna drive around for them,
Yeah.
and that kind of crushed me because I put a suit on, went to the Uber headquarters, talked to them about my interview, like showed them my paperwork because 9 years ago I was convicted, and they were like, "No, I'm sorry, man, we can't hire you." And then they kicked me off their platform for a while, and
Oh
I
man,
was
that
like, "Oh, you
sucks.
guys broke my heart, man. I was gonna
Yeah,
work for
yeah.
you.
They
I was
they
gonna."
just like broke your heart, put you on the corner, chewed you up, spit you out. No, I put this website honestjobs.co. So the founder, I think his name is Blake Binns. So that's a website dedicated to companies that are okay or roles that are okay with hiring people who have criminal histories or criminal backgrounds. So anybody, if please pass that site around. Because it sucks, man. It sucks that you're trying, and the only thing you have, and unfortunately, look, bills pile up. You got to live. You don't want to be homeless, and what are you gonna do if you have two choices? Are you gonna earn or not gonna earn? And who are you gonna go to? Right? Everybody's rejecting you. You're gonna go to the people who can sort of supply you, and unfortunately, it just that cycle repeats.
Yeah, that's a sad cycle, and that we wonder why the recidivism rate is so high. I think it's like something like 70% or something like
Yeah,
that.
it's so high.
Yeah, so
I mean, I saw one program. It was like this. It was like you can get a degree behind college. I think it was in New York State. Like Bard College did it, and the recidivism rate like drop. It was like something like 90% or higher never didn't go back because it's like now it's like they have something to look forward to. They have something that they can do. They have people are giving them a shot. And Amanda says, they commit additional crime because just the lack of resources to help them. You send because you don't you send them there and they don't get rehabilitated and it's such a broken system. And she used to volunteer with a nonprofit that helps people re-enter their communities and homes. And it was like, you need more of that. And I really appreciate all the wonderful comments, because Sama says everyone has a past, but it's all about what you do with the present and the future. And you got to believe in people and help them change for the good. Is there any topic that you really want to talk about? Because it's me questioning you. What do you want to talk about? What's
I mean, we're talking about my stuff right now. This is what
Yeah,
I
yeah,
this
yeah,
is
no,
this
but
is. I
what do
mean,
you like? I've asked you a question. Is there a topic that's really on your mind? That's really sort of that you really want to get out?
yeah. I mean, honestly, we touched on it a bit, but it's big right now. It's in the spotlight right now about the children. These days. It all starts with the younger generation. That's when people are most impressionable. That's when a lot of habits and a lot of things are formed in their life. As a child, I went to several military schools and boot camps. One of which I was kidnapped and sent away. A couple of them that literally were closed or changed their name due to child abuse, rape, and torture. And Paris Hilton actually just dropped a documentary called "This Is Paris," outlining one of these schools in called Provo Canyon in Utah, which is still operational while we're talking right now. Which that hurts my heart, man, because those kids that are going through there, the kids that we're all together in a Facebook group right now, we're survivors. It ranges from every level of person and people, and those kids, a lot of them are going to come out and be those people that society starts to look at in a negative way, and that quote unquote don't do anything. And it all starts right there. The schools I went to as a kid, you get past these big wooden doors, your clothes were stripped, your hair was shaved, you were beat up, you were put stuff on the ground for 10 days. You weren't allowed to speak without permission. You weren't allowed to communicate with family. No TV, no phones. You didn't even go to school. You just read a book and took a test at the end of the chapter. And I was like 11 or 12 years old my first time going. What I learned in there was everything bad about life basically. And when I got out, I was definitely in a shock, in a state of shock. And like I told you earlier, that stuff didn't. I haven't really dealt with that until the last couple months of my life. And going back and thinking about things, I'm like, wow, like this is why I jump when anybody comes near me and touches me, because you used to get the shit out of you like at the drop of a second. This is why I'm still scared of the dark. This is why I have these dreams still. This is why I wake up thinking that people are coming in my house and trying to take me away. And this is why I wake up in a bad mood, and it affects X, Y, Z, and it's like a snowball effect. And we basically need to protect these children, man. And the first step in that, because the parents send them there, is educating these parents, like Paris is doing right now with the documentary, and letting people know what these schools are actually about. They're for-profit entities taking advantage of people having problems, with their kids and their families that don't know what to do about it. And that's a huge thing. I definitely think that a lot of light needs to be shed on that, and a lot of talk needs to be on it. BBC, CNN have done documentaries on it, and on YouTube, if you look, they have like 20K views. It's like I'm like, wow, why are people not tuning into this stuff more? This is huge. Like these kids are being. I was one of the kids. Like brainwashed, manipulated, tortured, and I don't even have the worst story out of the people I know. I mean, what happened to me was tough, was hard. People I know went through literally 10x harder than what I did, and are still out here not knowing and not able to talk about it, not comfortable to talk about it. So I don't know if it's gotten worse or better since then. The one I went to was in Mexico. They closed down. Another one opened up 20 minutes away. Um, and kids are there right now. Like while we're doing this talk live right now on September 23rd, whatever it is, like there's kids sitting there right now, probably counting in a line, lined up, shaved head back to back, looking straight at the person's head behind them at 11 years old, waiting to eat some like seagull soup meal and go count in line again, and then wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning and put their face in the ground and count again, and like have all these manipulations and games on them, and that I wish I could change. There's part of me that gets mad about it and wants to just go there literally and just think about like grab a gun or a bomb, like yo, get everybody get out right now, like let these kids go. But obviously, like that's not the way to do it. I mean, this is not the way. That's not who I am anymore at all either. So the only other way to do it is by what we're doing now, talking about it, shedding light on it. I'm really grateful for Paris Hilton for stepping out and talking about it. And, she went to the certain one in the U.S. The ones out of the U.S. were a bit crazier, obviously, because they can operate, outside of U.S. laws as well. So yeah, I think that's like as you asked me, what's kind of
So
been on my
how
heart.
can people in the audience sort of do something about it? Would you say just like writing letters? What would you say?
Yeah, I mean, people do write letters to these schools. People do reach out to legislators. What I read recently on one of our Facebook groups is if the federal government gets enough letters and attention brought up on it, then they will investigate into what's going on. And there is a number. I don't have it at the top of my head. It's on that Facebook group. It's a private Facebook group for survivors of these places. There's about 1,000 of us. We were all kids once that were going through the same thing, and we didn't weren't allowed to know each other. And thankfully, technology brought us all together to find each other years and years later. People that we were going through these things with that we didn't even know allowed to know their last names or what city they're from. But I think right now it's going to start with a lot of light being shed on it, and a lot of light being shed on the fact that they're still operational, that these places are still open around our United States of America. We're still sending kids to these places where, and I think nine times out of 10, the parent doesn't really know what kind of place the kid's going to, and that's one thing that our Facebook group does is try to tell these kids' parents like, hey, before you decide to send your kid here, talk to us. We've been to these places.
So, Sama's asking, when was the moment you said enough is enough, and I need to, I know India that happened in India, but what did it happen as soon as the plane landed? Or it happened before, like you knew, hey, I'm gonna go to India and I'm gonna do this, or it took a few months there.
So it happened naturally. Like I said, the spiritual thing. Like when I was in America, I decided to leave, and that was kind of the first gradual. Like, ooh, I think I want to get away from this. Um, but a lot of people ask like that question. It's a great question. Like, what is the one moment? It really was more of a gradual thing. Like I said, even after I went to India and decided to leave the stuff behind, I still backtracked here and there and almost got back into things. But when I decided to open my business, to be with this person, my ex-wife that I was with, I definitely made a promise to myself, and I said that no matter what happens, no matter what happens to the business, anything, I will not sell dope. I will not get back in that circle and that lifestyle again. And I haven't, not even close since that day. That was huge for me. But the entire lifestyle leaving it behind was gradual. It was definitely like implementing good things, taking out the distractions and the bad things, and growing as a person slowly.
Okay, cool. I mean, let's slowly start to wrap up. I mean, any final questions from the audience? No, I really want to thank you for your time because I know it isn't easy to talk about, these things that are sort of, cause you a lot of pain. But, I'm glad that you're in a position where you can talk about it and you can talk about it in front of an audience. And, a lot of people, can, they learn from it. And, thank you for bringing awareness to that stuff. And I, hopefully every little bit counts, right? Every letter that gets sent, every little bit of
Yes.
awareness counts because there's so many things that go on, and it's just a lot of people simply don't know. It's like I never knew about it before I talked to you, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people just didn't know about it. So I really want to thank you for your time, and so what do you sort of do? You have anything that you're really trying to close out the year with? Anything you're trying to accomplish by the end of the year?
I want to finish my book, man. It's taken me.
How
It's
many?
been
So
struggle.
what percentage are you
I'm
at?
still I'm still 12 years old, 13 years old in the book.
Okay, okay.
It's
So
been
were
tough
you?
to get to 13, man, because a lot. It was a very emotional like writing period. And I had to like really step back away from it. But I really want to finish that book by the end of this year.
Okay.
That's kind of like a big hard thing, and I want to do. If COVID allows it, I want to do my first speaking event where I can travel somewhere and talk to kids or talk to prisoners or talk to people that need some motivation, inspiration. Those two things, as a personal level, and as far as the business level, I have a lot of goals, but this year we're implementing a new software, a CRM platform, and I
Nice.
want to bring our team to $1 million in sales with our small team of 3 people,
Nice.
and implement that new software. So we're actually very close to that goal.
All right, cool, man. I look forward to keeping in touch. Look forward to having you back. When you, and really glad that this show is a part of your healing. And anybody in the audience, let me tag you. Is it okay if people reach out and connect with you?
Yeah, man. I mean, I'm more than open to connect. I'm RockyCandola.com. My direct number is 228-596-5678. I actually answer my phone, and I would love to hear about other things besides the hair industry. If you want to just talk
Yeah,
about
yeah,
life and
yeah,
what's been going on back and forth, that's the stuff that touches my heart and heals me. So
yeah,
reach
yeah.
out to me. I'm a good listener, and I have been through a lot of things that I can get in detail with, and would love to give my heart and my soul to anybody out there that needs it.
No, I mean, thank you so much. I really appreciate you. The audience appreciates you. Please reach out to connect to him. I really appreciate you. So if anybody is interested, this is the link to Insomnia. If you want to support this show, patreon.com/no degree. If you want to listen to the podcast, the No Degree podcast on no degree.fm. I look forward, and I should be back next week. Thank you, each and every one of you. Bye bye.